Hi, everybody. I was looking at some of the work in progress, and I just wanted to stop a couple of you right in your tracks to show you a much better way of creating your compositions in Illustrator. And I've just picked Shanna's, which is a very nice start. But there are a few things here that are going to make your life much easier. First of all, I'm going to zoom in on this. I'm hitting Command and plus, and you'll notice by looking at the layers panel that everything you see here is on one layer. One of the benefits of using the layer panel is to separate parts of your art so that they can overlap each other. For instance, Shanna, you have these blue bars in the background, and you've attempted to draw them right up to the edge of the hairline here. That's a classic error that beginners make, and I'm not trying to demean your work or anything like that. I have to make this correction with almost all of my beginning Illustrator students because they're really not thinking about Illustrator as overlapped closed shapes. And I'm going to show you a much better way of doing this. First of all, your drawing, which is quite nice, is totally hidden behind all the other shapes. So as you go ahead and try to draw them, you can't really see the drawing, and the brightness and contrast of the drawing itself is at full 100% opacity. So I want to show you how to rearrange this a little bit. I'm going to hit Command 0 to make the entire composition fit my workspace. And then I'm going to go ahead and click off this shape, and I'm going to select the drawing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer and put the drawing on that layer. Now what I've done is created a layer on top of everything else so that right now it's hiding all your artwork so far. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag that layer right down below the artwork layer. So now it looks exactly like it did before. But now I'm going to toggle the visibility of your artwork layer. This is a very nice drawing, I want you to know. But I'm going to turn it into a template, and that's what you're going to use as your guide for your artwork. So I'm going to double click this right here, and I'm going to call this layer template. And I'm going to assign a horrendous color to it because I'm never going to use this bright neon green for any of my artwork layers. And I'm going to click the box that says template. What this does is it locks the layer. It shows me the layer, but it will never print this layer. So if you go ahead and print this file, your drawing will never get printed. And it automatically dims the image to 50%. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And you'll see what happened. Here's the drawing, and now the dark and light of the drawing is not competing with the artwork you're creating as you create it. I'm going to hit Command minus to take it down. Hit it again. And now I'm going to go ahead and click on the visibility of your artwork. So if we look at this artwork, you've got a figure in the foreground, and you have this really nice design arrangement in the background. Well, why are you trying to draw shapes right up to the edge of others? You're still thinking of this as if it were a traditional medium. You've made some nice shapes here, I want to tell you. But what I'm asking you to do is to divide up your artwork. And I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to call it, double click on it, I'm going to call it background, background. And then I'm going to go to this, select all the shapes in the background. I'm shift selecting them. And I'm going to, when I shift select objects on a layer, this little blue square represents all the selected art. So if I want to drag it right to the background layer, I just click on that dot or the square and drag it down one to the background layer. I have now separated the background shapes from your foreground art. So let's see if I got them all. And it looks like I did. If I click the visibility off the background, and I'm going to double click this, and I'm going to call this, maybe I'll call this Shanna Possible. All right. I'm also going to double click the background layer and change that color to something like magenta, which is a much nicer, easier on the eyes. Okay. So one thing I've done now, very important, I've set up the template. I have separated the artwork portion into 2 layers minimum. I have a background and a foreground, the figure itself. I am going to go ahead and create a new layer. I'm going to create 2 new layers, layer 3 and layer 4, just by clicking this button here. And I'm going to call the bottom layer Brad background, because I'm going to show you how I'm going to create the background. Click OK. And layer 5, I'm going to call Brad figure. Click OK. So I'm going to temporarily hide your layers. I'm going to click off the visibility as if I were starting completely from your sketch. So if I click on the background layer, whatever I draw, I could even go ahead and lock the other layers just to make sure I don't accidentally draw anything on the background other than the background layer. And I'm going to go ahead and let me take a look at your colors for a second, because I like your colors. So I'm going to click blue. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to sample that blue, then hide it. Now I'm on the background layer. I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm not going to worry about trying to, holding down the shift key. I'm not dividing that stripe into 2 sections, and then I'm going to drag this down a little bit. I'm going to close that shape. I'm going to do it here. And then I'm going to do here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the artwork for the figure on a separate layer and just let it overlap the background layer. I'm going to take another look at your background. Let's see what you've got here. Okay, you've got these really nice, I like these. I'm just going to go ahead and select those and then hit Command C to copy them. And then on the background layer, I'm going to go ahead and hit Command V, paste. That will paste it in the center. I'm going to hit Command Z. If I hit Command F, which is paste in front, it pastes these shapes back in the same position that I copied them from. So here you go. And just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to create a background color that I think you might pick. Double click this and maybe pick something nice like that. And then I'm going to, with this shape selected, I'm still on the background layer. I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, and Send to the Back. Boom. Now, here is your figure. So instead of worrying about drawing these shapes right up to the edge, I'm not even bothering with that. This is a much easier way of doing it. So let's hide that. I'm going to go ahead and hide the background layer and lock it. And now I'm going to work on the figure. And what I'm going to do is draw to start with, no fill, and just a stroke. And it can be any color. It can be black. I've been kind of using this magenta because I can always change it at the end and it's just easier for me to see. Let's go up to the Brad figure. I have to select a layer to be able to work on it. And I'm going to click once with my magnifying glass. I'm going to hold down the space bar and use my hand tool to move it around a little bit. I'm looking at this figure. I know that if I was trying to create this in cut paper, and I'm just looking at the figure right now, probably the back, the shape that's most furthest in the back would be the hair. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with the hair. And because I'm going to be drawing everything else in front of it, I don't have to worry about creating a little shape here for the hair and a shape here for the hair. Everything is going to be just stacked on top of it. So it's a completely different way of looking at how you're creating the artwork. Very different from traditional. All right, there's the hair. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw the face shape because I think that is going to be one of the other shapes that sits on top of the hair. So I'm just going to go ahead and click like that, just to remind you how to use the anchor point tool. And then I'm going to use the anchor point tool and then bend these shapes that I've created. That's nicer. And then I can always move these adjustment handles. Here's another one. This is really spend a little time learning how to adjust shapes with the anchor point tool, because it's, especially for the beginner, when you're really looking to get control of the pen tool. This is, like I said, this is a relatively late development. Okay. And then, as far as, I'm going to go back to the pen tool. I see the neck here. Not quite sure how I want that to work, but let's work on the kind of the turtleneck. And I'm not worried about doing, I want to draw this in as few shapes as possible. Right now I'm just creating shapes. I'm not even filling them with color yet because that's the last thing I want to do. Because once I start to fill it with color, I can't see through to my drawing. Okay, let's just for experiment, I'm going to click there. Right now it's a no fill and a magenta stroke. I'm going to click the default yellow and black. And then I'm going to flip them and remove the white stroke. Now look at that. That's a pretty nice single shape. I hope you're starting to figure this out. As far as the pants go, I'm going to click on the magenta, and my default changes back to that, so I can start and I can even go beyond the background. And I'm going to rotate that, and let's make it maybe blue. Although you have blue in the background, so let's pick something kind of cool looking. Okay, and let's look at your figure art again. The hair is this brown, so I'm going to go ahead and click. Well, first of all, I'm going to click the face shape and fill it with something that's like a flesh color. So I'm going to look at my swatches. And then in my swatch libraries, I'm going to go to skin tones and just pick something. Again, when I'm drawing female figures, normally, whatever the race, the female skin tone is a slightly lighter than the male version of it. And then I pick that. Here is the hair. And I can change that to a dark brown, a chestnut brown. So look how this thing is coming along. I also have kind of the bare midriff. So I can draw a shape there, there, and there. If you're going to work at all in Illustrator, this is the way to do it. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool to make it look like the same matching skin tone. The pants and the sweater should be in front of the skin tone. So I'm going to select the black sweater or the turtleneck and the pants, shift select, and then just stack them, bring them, object, arrange, bring to front. So you can see how this is developing. And then you can work on the hands and stuff. If you decide you want a stroke around it, you can always add a stroke to it. And I'm going to make this black stroke a little thicker. And this is where the brushes come in. If you have this kind of very even black stroke around this shape, let's open up the brushes for a second. And let's zoom in on the pants, Command plus, and let's add something a little more edgier. So that, it kind of disappears over here. But with the stroke already applied, I can change it. Let's go to the library, the brushes, and let's do artistic ink and see what they have here. And maybe this would look better. That's a little bit too gray. That's kind of nice. That has a little unevenness to it. And we can also reduce the thickness of it. And that gives us a stroke that's a little bit less even. I think we'll leave that there for the moment. So let's close that. Now, finally, when it comes to the eyes, okay, and the facial features are always going to sit on the very, very top of the pile. Now, we've already filled this in with some color. Maybe we don't want to turn it back to a no stroke, no fill and stroke to see it. I'm going to hit the Command Y key, which shows me the artwork, kind of the skeleton, just the paths without any of the fill or actual stroke colors. And I'm going to show you a little trick. With the ellipse tool, I'm going to draw a shape. And then I'm going to take the anchor point tool. It can also be used to change curved anchor points to corners. Click that, and click that. And oh my, you have kind of an eye shape. And then I'll use the white anchor point or the direct select and all right, let's draw a you have a eye, almond shaped eye, and then you've got a, hold down the option key and the shift key to draw a perfect circle. And maybe another one. I'm going to use the scale tool, and I'm going to hold down the option key to make a copy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the shape builder tool. If I just dragged it across these selected shapes, everything would combine into one, which I don't want. So I'm going to hit Command Z. I'm going to hold down the Option key, and now it's going to trim off anything I drag it across. So let's bring this into position before we maybe I want to rotate the whole thing. So here is white. This shape would be, oh, I don't know, let's make this a blue. And then this inner shape, make that a black. And then I might even add, just for fun, a little white circle here as a reflection. And then what I can do is shift select these shapes. And let's do this. Shift, select. I've got them all. And I can actually object group them, so that now when I select them, I select the whole thing. And I'm going to hit Command Y to see the positioning. And I'm just going to drag this over here, holding down the Option key to make a copy of it. And this is what it's looking like. Now, this isn't exactly the way you drew it, but I can always go back here and create an eyebrow. And again, these facial shapes fit right on top. That would be including the nose and even the ear. You'll just have to figure it out. Here's a shape for the ear. And I'll just use the and that should get you started. Okay, so divide your artwork into layers. And oh, let's take a look at the background. Look at this. Instead of trying to draw, I like it without the, instead of trying to draw right up to the edge here, I've just layered the figure right on top of everything. So it's as if I was creating, I just cut out some paper with scissors and laid them at the bottom. And then just everything here, I could have recreated this with a little patience with cut paper. So that's how you organize your file. When you are finished, you can discard your template. You can just delete this. I'm going to go ahead and put this file as is into Basecamp. So I hope this is helpful, and I'll talk to you all soon.